Now, we have the most multilingual and arguably the most multicultural continent on the planet. And we've also been exchanging stories, proverbs, philosophy, and poetry since the dawn of language. And a wealth of adventure, science, insight, romance, intrigue, and critical thought that African writers, poets, and journalists write about every day. And a treasure which African Flavor Books is now bringing direct to the world's reading public on Book Lovers Day.
This hub of all things written by African authors, thinkers and artists is the brainchild and result of the faith and hard work of Fortescue and Nokutula Khalepi.
Stories are a great way to educate the next generation and to start discussions around complex ideas. One bookstore in the heart of Braamfontein, Johannesburg is proudly telling African stories by selling purely African and vernacular literature. Guys, this is a seriously cool bookstore. I absolutely love it. What inspired this African literature bookstore?
Me and my husband love reading, but for me it started when I was very young. Then when I met Ford, it was to my surprise that he loves the same stuff, African literature, and we took that now. We thought, if we're looking for this, I'm sure there's so many people that would love to have this.
And at the moment, the whole world's sight is glued to Africa. But why do you think it's important for us as South Africans to touch base with African literature?
For us, there is a lot that we need to give to the world. I think South Africa, we are blessed with so many things that sometimes we don't appreciate, especially when it comes to the industries, the distribution and all those things. So there is so much that we can give Africa to the world, and it starts with us.
And Fortescue, I believe that you were a chemical engineer. Very different from being a bookstore owner, but I'm sure you've always had that love for books.
I always love challenges. And whenever there's a problem, I always try to put a solution. And that is how we are trained as chemical engineers. And I've always solved problems. And I said, this is maybe one of the areas that I can contribute. With my wife, we need to take it forward. And that is why our growth, our vision is very important, to make sure that we don't just end up being just one of those bookstores that wanted to do, but we want to leave a legacy.
In this bookstore, you'll be able to find popular and critically acclaimed authors such as Zake Sumda and Rosie Motene, just to name a few. You'll also be able to get your hands on African music, film and art.
I believe everyone has a story to tell. So some do it in the form of movies, some do it in the form of documentary. So we felt like this makes sense for us to put them together in a package. So it's film, it's book, it's arts, it's music, it's documentaries, and it has been going really, really good.
This is going to be a difficult one for you, but what would you say are your top African books to read right now?
Oh, it is a difficult question, that one. But my first two will be Reweaving the Soul of the Nation by Matsilo Motsei, which is her essays and her speeches that she compiled. She's a woman activist, and she has put so much information for us to learn from that. The second one, I will have to say, The Hard Nose by Florence Masebe. It's beautifully written, and she's done it in a form of poetry, and with that she's done it in English and in Vernac as well, which is Venda.
First one, it will be Born for Greatness, written by Paul Lepa, about the biography of Frank Lepa, one of underrated musician who started Sankomota. An amazing book.
I'm sure along this entrepreneurial journey you guys have come across certain challenges. What have those been?
We have to grow fast, and that is one of the big challenges, because there is so much of this and we can't miss this hype where people are starting to be aware that they need to read and they need to accumulate knowledge. That has been a big challenge for us, being a small business but carrying the burden to ensure that people have access to African content.
What are some of your hopes and dreams for African Flavor Bookstore?
In the next 5 years, we would like to have 20 shops of African flavor books, and mostly in the location where our people are.
We need to provide an alternative entertainment for young people in this country. That is one thing that we hope for, that in 100 years, that will be a legacy that we'll have left for this country, where African knowledge will be right across the country and maybe the continent, and people can know that, yes, they can really come to our store and be able to enjoy themselves.
If you're looking for something different or a true African experience, well, then this bookstore has it all.